Welcome back, everybody, into the second part of this tutorial series where we are taking this website for an AI company called ViralVent, and we are transforming it into a more modern and an overall better UI UX principled landing page. So obviously in the previous part we have worked on the nav bar. We have focused on making it more minimal and also more modern. So we've ended up here with this design right here. So in today's video, we're going to be looking into how we can transform, like we did for the nav bar, how we can transform the hero section. So the hero section is one of the most important parts of your website. It aims to make the user intrigued enough to maybe scroll down. So that's one of the things, or it might be just to provide a clear call to action for the user. So let's see how we can make a more interesting hero section. Let's start, as always, with the headline for the hero section. So I'm just going to copy the text here, and we're actually using enter here. So I'm just going to paste it. So it's enter. Let's make it semi-bold since this is a high visual hierarchy element. And let's make it just a bit greater, up to 48. Uh, okay. Uh, Instead of that converts, I would say for a greater conversion. Okay. So then I'm going to center align it. Here I see he went for a left aligned column, but most of the website here is already central aligned, so I'm just going to keep with that. Like, it's fine to sometimes use left alignment for your hero section and central alignment for your following content, but here I'm just going to opt to go full central alignment. Let's reduce the width here. And so maybe we want to emphasize this one, okay? So how can we do that? Maybe we can play around with the fonts, introduce a sans serif font, like Playfair. Okay, I don't think Postgres here. Maybe let's try Playfair display. Does this work if we perhaps change the color here, like to the blue? Okay, instead of changing it to a serif font, I don't think serif works well with the design, so let's keep it as enter. Uh, okay, so that's an effect that could work. Uh, but maybe we can go even further. So maybe we can provide a gradient here. So I'm just gonna make a gradient, sort of an interesting idea here. Uh, okay, so what I'm trying to do in this situation, okay, let's reduce the width here actually, to the start and to the end. Okay, so what I'm trying to do here is to use this darker color as just an accent. Here let's just duplicate this. So this here, then let's move it around here. Then we would need another stop with this same color. Then we're gonna drag it here, then a new stop, and we're gonna do the same thing we did. Okay, so just drag it in. And I think overall this looks good. Like, it's a gradient fade which transitions from the blue to the blue black, from the blue again to the blue black again, and finally in sub blue. So that's what we just did, and I think this gives the design a bit more interest and makes it overall uh, just somewhat more good to look at. So that's one thing you want to focus on. Okay, so what next? Next, we would need a subheadline, and I'm just going to copy over this subheadline. I'm going to reduce its font size to around 14 or 16 pixels. Let's go 14 regular, and I'm just going to give it this color since this is not a high visual hierarchy element. So I'm just going to give it this grayish color as they have done here actually. So let's make this bit more wider. Around here would work. So let's make sure central alignment is correct. Okay, great. Okay, it's all coming along quite nicely. Then we have the call to actions. So we have two call to actions. There's also the product hunt badge, but I'm not going to include that simply because I want this design to be something that will be consistent and the company could use for a longer period of time. So including this product hunt badge is like a temporary situation, and I would opt for more of like a badge here which is floating on the bottom left or something like that. So I'm just going to do these two call to actions. So these two call to actions would follow the same direction as these two buttons. So the first call to action, let's actually change the order, would be get started or start free trial. We can say that start free trial. So uh, actually, IA, okay. Then we would want to include an accent here to the button just to make it more interesting. And I'm just going to decide here to use a rectangle, triangle. I'm just going to flatten it, call it accent, and give it a transform of rotation of minus 90 degrees. Then let's give it some corner radius around 1 or 2, that could work. That would look like a cool little accent. So I'm just going to do that, and I'm just going to put it right here. Then I'm going to go over and give it around 8 pixel gap, central alignment, obviously. Yeah, so let's make this more prominent. So let's decrease the corner radius, change the height to be around 8, and that would just make the design of this button just a bit more interesting, and it will give it a higher level of visual hierarchy. Okay, great. So what about this login? Instead of a login, we want something they did here, which is watch demo. So watch demo. But here we're going to do something. We're going to be including an icon. For my icons, I'm going to use the XNIX icon pack. So just search for it on Figma. It's my favorite icon pack currently. So just search here for video. Okay, so around here we can also use these. But we can also use this, which is, I think, just a bit more detailed. So let's just go over here and paste it. We want it to be the same color, and let's reduce its size to around 12. Obviously we need to outline stroke. Wait, let's just revert back. Okay, so first we have to outline stroke, call this an icon. Then let's give this around 12 pixel height. So then let's give it an 8 pixel gap between the contents. And we can actually put this on the left side instead of the right. So just switch the map here. And this will work for a better button here. But I do think the size of these icons is a bit small. So let's just increase this to 12. Would 12 be too big? I think 12 works fine here. But I would like to make this just a bit more interesting. Maybe we could give it a color. So maybe it would be a lighter shade. Yeah, I think that would work as a lighter shade. It would give it just more detail and less visual hierarchy. And this, let's increase this to around, okay, 12 here works. But we want it to have just a bit more visual hierarchy, so around 14. Also, let's make sure the buttons have the correct sizes, which is 16 pixels. Yeah, okay, great. So these are our CDAs or call to actions. Okay, moving on. We have this testimonials of some sort, and this banner, and this image. So I'm just going to start with the banner. Okay, so build for marketing agencies. Instead, we can say that. But what if we take the space to like provide announcements like most websites do? Or you can say, for example, announce soon to announce our anticipated version 2 of viral VAT. Okay, then let's make this regular and 14 just the body text. Then let's give it 70. Followed up by, let's give this an accent just to make it more interesting. So what kind of accents? Figma provides us with actually really cool to use accent. I'm just gonna here use a star, and I'm just gonna use it with 4 corners, and just give some corner radius around 0.25. That looks good. You can play around with it. I'm just going to keep it as 38 for now, or around 40. Then let's change the color into a more, you can actually make it an accent from the blue to the blue black, which is very subtle and most people won't even notice it, but it just gives life to the design. So I'm just going to call this star an accent, and let's actually have it to be around 12 pixels and 8, then maybe even more, maybe 16. Okay, and let's duplicate it, bring it over to this side. And we can actually duplicate this, bring it over here, decrease its size to around 4 pixels, and we can maybe 4 pixels a bit too small, 8 pixels, and we can place it right on top here just to make it more interesting. We can actually group these two into an accent actually. So let's just copy this, Control Shift R to paste and replace, and we can take everything right here, Shift A to put in a frame, and I'm just going to call it a banner. So our banner would be very simple. It will be around 8 pixel gap, central alignment, of course, then 16 by 16 padding, and the stroke, which is the same color as this one, which is D4. Then let's give it around 8 pixel corner radius, and this would be our banner. It's just, instead of having a gray background, we can make this more detailed and interesting. I'm actually going to give it a white background here, white fill. Okay, great. Everything's coming along quite nicely. The two remaining sections is the testimonial and the visual interest point, which is this image. And what I'm actually gonna do is I'm actually gonna incorporate these two into one single part. Before that though, let's group everything here as it should be. So I'm just gonna group these two into the headline and the banner. So let's decrease the the gap here to around 12, and let's group it with this to around 24, or maybe 16, which is closer. Okay, we can name this header, and together with the CDA, this will be named the content, and around 32 pixel gap, or 24, 24 maybe, 32. Okay, let's go 32. Just making sure we have the proper gaps and the proper white space. We don't want to make this feel cluttered at all. So here we can maybe consider reducing the line heights for around 52. And here we can maybe increase it to around 20. Okay, that's good, that's good. Everything's going along quite nicely here. So how do we incorporate this? Very simple. I will need the image, so what I'll do is I'm just gonna okay, it's not letting me drag. Okay, we can just copy it or drag it over to this side. Okay, we can try to grab the image. Okay. For some reason on mobile it's not letting me. Okay, so I've managed to get it in. And let's decrease its size considerably. Okay, let's do it here. Okay, so what I'm going to do to the image, I'm just going to give it the border, which we've been using here. So it would be D4, then some corner radius. Let's go 6 pixels here, since I'm just going to provide an outer box here. I want it to be 6 pixels because of the rule that your inner content should have less corner radius than your outer content. So for now, I'm just gonna take it out and place it right here and work on the container for this. We'll drag a frame, okay? We'll just drag a frame, and let's put this inside the frame. Let's call this frame the uh, it's the VIP point of visual interest, or point of visual interest, PVI. I'm just gonna name it image. Then I'm gonna provide auto layout here. It would be hug content by hug content, 0 pixel gap. Then we're gonna have a padding, which is around 32 by 32, and 0 on the bottom. Actually, 32 and 32 to the left and right, 0 at the bottom, and let's try 32 on the top. And I'm just gonna provide here with a stroke, D4, and 8 pixel corner radius. You see why we did 6 pixels here, just to make it proportional to the outer one. And here I'm just going to go to the corner radius, and on the bottom corner radiuses, I'm just going to provide it 0 because I want it to be flat on the bottom here. Then let's increase the padding here from 32 to maybe 64 on the top, 64 by 64. Okay, we can make sure we have bottom central alignment. Okay, that looks good. That looks good. I'm just gonna drag it on both sides, and I'm just gonna increase the size of this a bit. Let's take this a bit more up, just to give us some more space. Okay, so around 78, meaning we would provide uh we would provide around 81, let's say, by 81 and 81, that we can make everything our content. Okay, that looks good. That looks good. So to make this a bit more interesting, I'm going to use gradients here. But here I'm just going to use radial, not radial, but blurry gradients. So what I'm just going to do here is I'm going to put some circles in. Okay, I'm just going to put circles on the bottom half here. Okay, some sort of cloud shape. Okay, so we're going to focus on giving these circles a gradient color. So here I'm going to make them from left to right. Let's go with this sort of color, which is just the movement from blue, from the darker blue to the lighter blue. Let's add this default gradient to our variables here, just so that I can reuse it. I'm just gonna select all of them, and I'm just gonna give them the default gradient. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take everything here and group it. So Control G, and I'm just gonna name this gradient or gradient accent, you can say it. Then I'm gonna give everything here an effect of layer blur. Now let's give it around 64 pixel, or let's increase it to 196, and let's take it back so it becomes behind the actual content. So now we end up with something like this. What I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna reduce this to around 62, 72 by 72, 72. That would be, then I'm gonna increase the size of this. It can overflow, no problem. Okay, so let's actually give ourselves a bit more of a height here. Let's take everything here and increase it. Okay, we can edit this gradient now as we like, or we can provide a different color here. So a color that would be fitting the brand. Okay, so we do want a color that works well with the blue, but it still has a feel of minimalism. Sorry for that. So I think the orange here is a good accent for the blue, which is used in many places. So we're just gonna be using that. Okay, so and for example, for this one, I'm just gonna increase the height and maybe make a transformation. Just rotate it a bit so that the orange shows up a bit more. here too. I'm just gonna make it transform so that the blue shows up a bit more. Okay, so this would be our point of visual interest. And I think it looks nice. Uh, I think it looks quite nice here. So I'm just gonna actually increase the border corner radius to 8 and around 12. Okay, that looks very good. Okay, good. So next up, I want to incorporate this here into the actual point of visual interest. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use some circles here again, around 64 but maybe. So let's duplicate these circles. Okay, around 6 circles I'll need. Shift A, and I'm gonna call every circle an image, since this will be an image of somebody that left a review. And instead of showing the review directly in the hero section, we would have a testimonial section maybe down below. I'm not sure, but I don't think the direct testimonials here would work. It would be too much clutter, so I'm just gonna provide just this accent right here. Also, let's call this images. Then let's decrease the gap in between them, minus 24 maybe. Great. Then we'll leave here 200, okay, 25,000 plus 5-star reviews from our users. Okay, so we can maybe take this, give it the less visible color, since it's just an accent here, and let's actually decrease the size of everything here to around 48. Then from the gap, I'm just going to reduce it to minus 16. And I'm just going to group it here into reviews. Okay, so then let's decrease this to 16 too. Then let's go over and put our images in. So let's remove the fill and go to plugins and Unsplash. If you don't have this, go to manage plugins. Unsplash is a popular image library which has a plugin in Figma, so we can use that quite comfortably. So we can just say person. We want a professional headshot of a person, so we're gonna pick out headshots images. This is black and white, so I don't think this is completely white background. Okay, this we can use this perhaps. Okay, I think we can use these images. Yeah, okay, that looks quite nice. So we can just use this as our reviews, but we can go even further and add more interest. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over and first let me remove the D9 color here, which is the default for shapes in Figma. And let's go over to all the images and provide it with a stroke of D4. Okay, the stroke is okay. So since the stroke is directly on top of the images, I'm just gonna okay. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna shift a each image img container. Then I'm gonna give it some padding around 8 by 8. Then I'm gonna give it a D4 border with a circular corner radius, so 999. Okay, So I want to do this around 5 times. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Then let's start cutting this. Control Shift R to replace. Cut this. Control Shift R. Sorry. Control Shift R to replace. Let's cut this again. Control Shift R. Cut this. Control Shift R, and one is left. So let me just use this instead of this one. I think the proportions doesn't match with the other ones. So then we want to just select everything here and give it a fill, a white fill. Now we have this more interesting sort of color uh, section, and let's drag it here. Okay, we can drag it here. Then let's give this a negative corner radius, -24 maybe. Then we can take this, put it on top. Okay, so we can actually go here to the auto layout. Then we select this, and instead of last on top, we want to do first on top. Then let's put this back behind. Okay, so now we have this sort of section. We want to give this some padding around 8 pixel by 8 pixel, then a fill and stroke, but default stroke, then let's say around 8 pixel corner radius. Let's then decrease the gap again by shift 2. We can go a full corner radius since these are circles, and sometimes it's fine to break your design uh, styles since we're not using complete circles or rounded borders. But here, since this is a circle, I don't think it's wrong to use it. Okay. So let's have 8 pixel corner radius, but just for the content side or the text side, since there is an equal distancing of or distribution of content, I'm just gonna do more padding. Okay, so now we can end it here almost, but we can do just experiments. We can try gradients again. Is there any gradient combination that would work, that would make this more interesting? Like if we make the content here white and visible, how can we make this gradients work? Is it a way to make it more interesting? And I think there is. I think the gradient color here works quite nicely. So let's try to just make it more subtle though. And let's remove the borders since we already have the gradients to distinguish it. Okay, so this will be our final uh, sort of accent or point of visual interest. So let's just give this fill here. Okay, can we remove this? Does this look better? These are questions you have to ask yourself. Does this look better? So because your eyes are the biggest source of knowledge for visual design. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to stick with the previous ones just for now, but if you have like an opinion, please share them down below in the description. Okay, So now we have to group everything here into what we call the hero section. Hero. Then let's give this around 48 pixel gap, central line everything, and from here we're going to go down around 64, maybe 64 pixels. Okay, great. So this will be our final variation of the hero section. Very interesting looking design. There's so many things going on, but I hope I covered most of it quite well. I tried to make it as informative and as not overwhelming as possible. So one thing I want to do is I want to see this in this variation. So 1414 so the default for the desktop is 14 by 1024. So 1024, and this looks good actually. This looks quite nice. Obviously here we could have had a better image, but I'm just using what is provided in the overall website. So if this was like a real client, we would have uh, a nicer image probably. So yeah, thanks for watching. This is all for today. I really hope you enjoyed. If you want private mentorship, you could contact me on X. You can DM me there. My handle is down below in the description. Again, thanks for watching. Until next time, goodbye.